Good luck, everyone. Mazel tov on this tremendous occasion. So you're embarking on learning Shisha Sidrei Mishnah. Raise your hand if you finished. Who finished Moed? Wow. So what's the next Seder? Nashim. Which Masechta? Yevamis. It's really amazing that you're making a Siyum tonight on Moed and starting Yevamis, because actually in this week's Parsha, HaKadosh Baruch Hu comes to Avram Avinu, and Avram Avinu sees Hashem b'nevuah. Does anybody know what was Avraham Avinu doing at that moment when Hashem appeared to him in Eloinei Mamre? So I'll give you a little hint. He was learning. What was Avram Avinu learning? The Kloisenberger Rebbe says we have a Messiah. Avram Avinu was learning Yevamis when HaKadosh Baruch Hu came to appear to him. So can you imagine you're starting Yevamis tonight, the first day of the week that Avram Avinu was loimed Masechta Yevamis. Now, we have Shisha Sidrei Mishnah, Zroim, Moed, Nashim, Nazikim, Kachim, Taharas. There's a mnemonic to remember these 6 Sedarim. You know what the mnemonic is? You know what it's like a short, abbreviated way to remember these 6 names. It's called Zaman Nokat. The Rambam writes, the Zohar writes, Zaman Nokat. Zroim, Moed, Nashim, Nazikim, Kachim, Taharas. And the question is, what does Zman Nokat mean? So some suggest Zman Nokat means Rebbe, the author of the Mishnah, was really not allowed to write down the Mishnah. He only wrote it down because Eis Lasos Lashem. He had no choice. People were forgetting, so he grabbed the moment and he wrote down the Mishnayos. That's why it's called Zman Nokat. But I want to share with you another shot. They asked Reb Chaim Volozhiner, could you give us a trick? How does a person become a masmed? You know, everybody wants to get into learning. Everybody wants to enjoy learning. What segula is there to become a masmed? You know what Reb Chaim Volozhiner said? Learn Mishnah, Mishnayos. If you learn Mishnayos, you'll become a masmed. Do you know why if you learn Mishnayos you become a masmed? Because you'll realize in a minute or 2 or 3 you could learn a Mishnah. And once you see what you could accomplish in a minute or 2, you won't want to waste time because, you know, why would I waste 6 minutes? I could learn 2 or 3 Mishnayos. So learning Mishnah is a skula to become a masmid. Does anybody know which Tana, whose opinion in the Mishnah really takes up almost all of the Mishnayos? You know, the Gemara in Sanhedrin says almost every Mishnah, Kulan Aliba de Rabbi Akiva. You know what Akiva stands for? Yesh, Koina, Oilamai, Bisha, Achas. You could gain Oilam Haba in 1 minute. That's what we learned from Mishnayos. That in 1 minute, you come home and you want to play, but you say, you know what? In 3 minutes, I'll learn a Mishnah. So before I do anything, let me just chap a Mishnah or 2 Mishnayos. And in less than a year, you could finish a whole Seder. So from Mishnah, we learn that a person could train themselves in Hasmada by grabbing minutes. And I think that's the reason why Mishnayos is called Zman Nokat. It teaches us to grab time. I have a minute here. I'm driving in the carpool. I have 10 minutes until I get to Darkei Torah or Yeshiva Ketana. I might as well learn a Mishnah or 2. I'm at a red light. I have a minute waiting online. By learning to constantly learn Mishnayos, you train yourself to be a masmid. Zman Nokat. And I'll tell you another thing for all you parents out there. You know, Reb Chaim Falaji writes, Jews used to have a lot more money than they do now. Jews used to make more money, says Reb Chaim Falaji. Why aren't we as rich as we once were? Says Reb Chaim Falaji, because we don't learn enough Mishnah. Mishnah is gematria parnasa. That a person's parnasa is dependent on limud Mishnah. And here's one more thing. Now you're in, huh? The Medrash tells us, Ein hagoliyos miskansois ela b'schus ha-mishnah. That by learning Mishnayos, it's the segula to bring the geula. So I'm sure, in the schus of you making a siyum on Seder Moed, Be'ezus Hashem, you brought the geula a little closer, at least, perhaps much closer. We should be zoicha tonight, Matzoi Shabbos, b'schus Eliyahu Hanavi, b'schus your siyum. We should be zoicha to see the geula b'mher v'yameinu. Amen.